Hey y'all, Rick from Ozark Living Homestead. This is my male, my buck. And in the video yesterday, I mentioned that we had a bad flood that tore down some fences, which I'm going to take you over and show you in a few minutes. But I had gotten enough of it back up that I could actually put the goats in. They were in a temporary pen which is behind me. This is a little dog pen that's right beside the cabin here, that my wife built, mostly by herself. I did give her a little bit of help, but she did most of it by herself. She put the panels up, she wired them to the posts, she drove most of the posts in the ground, believe it or not. But I was right in the middle of something, and she didn't want me to stop. She wanted me to go ahead and finish that. And by the time I got finished to get up here and help her, she was done. So, but anyway, he got out the day before yesterday. Anyway, day before yesterday, I think it was. And she was on her way to work, and it was about 6:30 in the morning. And she came back in the house, and I thought something was really wrong. And she said, I asked her what was wrong. She says, the goats are out. And I thought she meant all the goats were out. As you're going to see, some of the fencing is not perfect, and he has learned to climb fences. He's actually gotten out of this one time before when I had to put him in here because the temporary fence behind me wouldn't hold him. He kept finding ways out of there. The other ones I could keep them in there, but I couldn't keep him in, and I had to put him in here by himself. And we went through a lot of hay feeding them, to keep them fed. But he actually somehow got out of this, and this is the stiff cattle panels. So, but somehow he climbed up over it and got out of there. He's only done it one time. He's only going to be in there for another day, maybe two. In fact, my wife was on me about mowing the grass in here because of the dogs, but I don't think I'm going to have to mow it once he gets done. But anyway, I'm headed into town. I'm going to pick my brother-in-law up and a chainsaw up just at the shop. And I'll stop over there to go pasture and give you guys an idea of what's going on over there. So, all right, guys, I'll be back in a second. Okay, guys, this is where part of, it's kind of hard to explain, but I just wanted to show you, this is where I'm working on right now. We actually had it back up, functional, but the fence was so loose, and the posts were so loose. These wooden posts, I had these things sunk, oh gosh, some of them 3 foot or more in the ground, because I dug them with the auger with the tractor, and sunk these things in there. But the water, just the force from that water and the trash and crap that it swept down, got on this fence and it laid these posts down. These right here that you see here, it just laid them about halfway over. They wouldn't go completely over, but they went about halfway over. The gate was leaning about halfway, and we got them back up. And this one here, we concreted it in, we concreted it in, and we concreted that one in. Now that last one down there, we didn't concrete. I'm thinking maybe I should have, but I think it'll be okay. And you can see how I did this because the fence is laying over here. What we did, we took a cattle panel. I have a neighbor helping me do this. And we went inside, we just tacked it with some fence staples. We didn't do it completely. We just kind of looped around and come back over behind the gate over here with a big old cattle. That way we could work on the posts in here and not have to worry about the goats and everything getting out. Now, if we need to get in there, of course, we have to go up to the big gate that's right up here, to get inside there for right now. But actually, we're planning on getting the fence back up here today. I got to go get my brother-in-law. I'm going to bring the tractor out here. We're going to put the fence stretcher on it, and we're going to stretch it up there and tack it down good. And then after we get that one done, this one's really tight. For some reason, this one held up really good when I put it back up, because we had another flood after that big major flood. But this one here, it is twisted. I mean, when it laid it over, it twisted them. And all these steel posts that you see here, When that water came from this way and across the road down the hill and from the cow pasture over there, and it swept all the old hay from the cow pasture over there and trash and debris, which is nobody's fault, it's just Mother Nature. But it laid all of these steel posts down flat on the ground. I mean, because all that debris gathered up on the fence, and it was like a wall that water was hitting, and it just laid them all down. It actually snapped the end of some of those posts off, believe it or not, those steel posts. And you can see, and I think this is how the dog got out, those fence, it's really slack right in there. Like I said, I got it up just enough to keep them in there, but he's figured out a way, and I think he went out down to the other end. There's one place down there that's really down. Now, I'm going to take you up here and show you. Sorry about the jumping. And as you can see, the goats are fine. You know, the other one is up there. Even the babies are out there somewhere. The weeds got pretty high while they were not in here. Now, this fence that you see here, all the way down to that corner post down there, right on the other side in those weeds there is that creek. And when it came up, it came out of that creek, it did the same thing. It just laid those posts over because it was headed that way, but it just swelled up and come over. It laid every one of those posts down. That corner post down there was leaning about halfway over. I had 4, I forgot what size posts they were, but they were big posts like those up there, the store-bought ones up there on the end, the pressure-treated store-bought ones, like you see up there, laying right up there by that main gate. Well, I didn't miss them till about 4 days after the big flood. I was out here thinking about trying to figure out how to get this thing put back up the easiest way. It didn't touch that fence there. Because the water was coming this way along with that fence. It did not harm that fence whatsoever. And it did lean that one big main post up in the corner. It leaned it over pretty good, and it's still leaning. So that's another one that I've got to tighten up. But that back fence, it washed those posts down from here to that clump of trees down there, which is where that pond is in there. They are actually still floating in there. I haven't been able to get them out, one, because I know it's snake infested. I'm sure it is. I haven't seen any snakes in it. But not just that, just the trash and the debris. It took that whole fence line down. It just laid it over flat to where there was nothing. And like I was saying, the day that this happened, it was late afternoon. Neighbors wanted to take across, and I watched the goats. They pretty much stayed up here by the shelter. They didn't go anywhere down that way. But I knew once daybreak come the next morning that they were going to realize that fence was down and they would be out. So I pretty much stayed up all night. I fought to stay awake and get out of here when the sun was coming up. Well, they were out here before I was, and they were actually over there in the field on the other side. They had already figured it out. And so I took a bucket of grain, started shaking it, and that always gets them. They all just came running. And I took them over. They followed me all the way over to the temporary pen, and that's where we put them at. But anyway, it took, like I said, it took this whole fence down. This one along the front here where I'm standing, that one down there, and that one across there. It took all that down. So we had to take all the fencing loose from all the posts, re-drive the posts, replace some of them because it just snapped them off, believe it or not. Even though they're still posts, it snapped the ends of them off because it bent it completely over. Some of them, it just pulled them up through the dirt, pulled them out of the ground. Some of them, it bent the posts. We were able to straighten them back out and drive them back in. Well, after that big major flood, another problem that we ran into was this old tractor here. Now, I'm not disappointed in this old tractor because I have put this thing through hell. And I mean I have put it through hell. And at the age of this tractor, it's not cut out for what I've done with this thing. I mean, yes, they were made to do hard work, But at the age of this thing, it's worn out. You know, the things that are worn out on it. I mean, I have really, really worked this hard between building the cabin and just all the other things going on. You know, I use it for grading the drive when the bad rains come and they wash the places out in it. Well, it really almost impassable to come up through there. So I had to go out through there and just totally regrade that drive back through there and out to the creek and out to the road. But anyway, what happened is I was up by the road. Hang on 1 second, guys. I was up by the road, and as you guys can see, it actually kind of goes uphill. And I was pulling dirt up there because where the pavement meets, it'll wash that dirt and gravel away from the pavement, and you'll have a big dip there. So I was grading it back up that way, pulling it back up toward the road, and getting it in there. The clutch went out on me. I lost all power, and I thought, what the crap? And so I pushed the clutch pedal in, I just let her roll back, and I got her back down here to level ground. And I went to put it back in gear, and I could hear clink, 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 clink. And you know, and I'm not an expert on this thing, guys. My opinion is, because I know some of the older vehicles, and they're basically, the motors and transmission and everything, basically like the older cars, is that the pressure plate went out on this thing, and I'm sure the clutch plate too. But every now and then, when you go to let out on the, and it could be the release bearing, I don't know much about the release bearings, but I know the pressure plate, and, it makes a clanking noise, and it's right there at the, where the clutch is. It's not the motor. And because the only time it does it when I go to let out, it does it for a few seconds until I let out completely on the clutch pedal, and then it'll quiet down. But yeah, I mean, this thing just barely creeps along. If you're trying to pull anything, just forget it. It's not going to go. It's not going to pull anything. It has no power. It has just enough to creep along. In fact, the way I've been doing this, I've been putting the metal post from there up to the wooden post, and I would back up to straighten that thing up, that where it would just hold it in place until the concrete set up. And it worked fine for that, but once you got it up tight to where it was going to stay, there was no more pushing. I could have not pushed that post over if I had to. It just won't do it. So that's going to be another project that I've got to deal with as soon as I get this, but I got to get these goats contained in here where they cannot get down, especially that male buck over there. I have to do it. And then I've got barbed wire I'm going to run across there, but I just, you know, I got to get this tractor up and going because I can't get any bush hog done. I can't get anything done. If we get any bad rains and the mess of the drive, we'll have to deal with it until I get the tractor done. Now, some of you know, and this is going to be a real big project for me because I've never done it. These old tractors, and I don't know about the new ones, but what they call breaking them in half. A lot of people don't want to do them because you break them in half. Literally, you take it in two parts, and you pull them away from each other. You get in behind the motor, take the pressure plate, release bearing, clutch plate, and all that out and replace it. And then you got to put it back together. Now, I don't have a garage. I don't have a concrete floor to put all these jacks on. So I'm going to have to make my own platforms out of 2x4s and plywood and stuff to support the two ends of this when I pull them apart. I do have jack stands. I have a little jack. But that's going to be a real, pretty good challenge there. And it's going to be a pretty big project there. And I'm actually going to try to film all of it as I do it. And again, I don't claim to know what I'm doing because I really don't know what I'm doing when it comes to this. But I've got to get this tractor back up. And these are things I got to get done before I go in and get the hernia done. Because like my wife says, you know, she says, I can bush hog, but you got to get the tractor done. You know, I don't want to do it. I got my brother-in-law here now. I can get him to do things. The neighbor helps out a lot. He knows how to run the tractor and stuff. So, again, guys, these are just some of the things that just constantly keep happening. You know, we were supposed to, I showed the one video on the other side where we were going to enclose that area for the goats over there for the winter time. But we were going to run where you see the end of the fence down there back toward the pond and come back across and make it twice as big as what this is now. But again, that didn't happen. And that's the reason I haven't gotten them posts out of that thing yet, because I actually took the tractor. I thought, well, maybe it's got enough power. I get it in there, get a rope around them. I can pull them out of that pond and drag them up here. Well, it still was then, still damp and wet, the ground down there. And I almost got the tractor stuck. And I said, no, you know, that's the last thing I need to get that thing stuck way back there in those weeds. I'll never get it out, you know, because there's just no way I'd get it out. And I'd have to hire somebody to come in with a tractor and pull it out of there. So anyway, I come out of there and left the post. They'll still be there when I get out there. So, but anyway, I know I've been on here ranting and whatever, and trying to give you guys an idea of what's going on with us, you know, me. And as you guys can see, the weeds are getting up pretty high. They're not too bad yet, but they're getting up there. The other day, around the back of the house where we go in and out, I had to do it. It's the weirdest thing. You know, I got tons of gas cans. I probably have 10 gas cans, big gas cans, a couple small ones. Pulled the lawnmower out. It's a self-propelled little 21-inch, 22-inch, whatever, that I've had forever, and it runs great. And I was just going to do it around the edge of the house, and it's hot as it was. I didn't want to do it, but the grass was getting way too high around there, so I went on and did it. But I pulled it out, and I checked the gas, because I always check the gas and oil whenever I do these things. And oil was fine, because I had just actually changed the oil in this thing. But I checked the gas and it was bone dry. So I go start checking cans. Every can was empty. I had put all of it in this tractor because I was doing all that grading and stuff, and didn't realize I had never refilled any of these cans. But so anyway, I ended up doing it with the weed eater, and boy, I'm telling you, I mean, I had to get it done, because my wife was walking through these high weeds, and in the morning, like she said, her shoes would just get soaked from walking through the high weeds with the dew and everything. So, but anyway, I got it done with the weed eater, but that was a pain. It was so hot, but I did get it done. In fact, I got it cramping so bad that I was glad that when I did get done, I was done. So, but there's no more that needs to be done. And then the electric lawnmower, I mean, not the electric lawnmower, but the riding lawnmower, we tried to pull it out, tried to crank it, and we can't get the blades to turn. We did find out what was wrong with it. There's some broken wires that were broke off that controls from the button down to the blades. So that's another project, and I'm going to try to get to that today. Maybe tomorrow, but tomorrow and Saturday are supposed to be very, very hot days. They're saying 110 heat index, so I don't know how much we'll get done the next couple of days. I'm going to try to stay inside, to tell you the truth, as much when it's that hot. Yeah, that's dangerous hot. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get off of here. I got to get him, because I want to get this fence tightened back up and get this taken care of. So, all right, guys. Don't know what else to say here. There's more to say and there's more to show you, but anyway, we'll get to it, and I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next video.